Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform to bring hazmat response information and training tips from hazmat members from around the globe. I'm Bobby Salson. I'll be acting as the host for tonight's show, and I'm joined by the usual cast of characters, Phil Ambrose, Jason Rogers, and Bob Kosh. Good evening.
Good evening.
We see that you're still in the Emmitsburg Women's Correctional Facility.
It's beautiful, and it's balmy here. It's always the best. There will be. You know what? I met a very interesting guy. I was lucky enough to meet Dr. O'Neill, who is the director of the Fire Administration for the United States, and we were chatting today. And he's going to be doing an interview with us.
Yeah, we met him he was at the Firefighter Cancer Support Network gala at FDIC last year. What a great guy.
Very cool dude, man. I was very impressed.
Class act, and just a real nice guy.
Yeah.
And there for us.
He's just very forward thinking, and I got to say the guy's really cool. I'm really excited. I was actually just before we started the show, I was writing a list of questions that I can throw at him, and
he spent a bunch of time in was it Jersey City?
I think so. He kind of alluded to that because he knew an awful lot of FDNY guys that we knew, and I'm kind of interested to sit down and chat with him. But everybody's spinning up for this whole this drizzle storm that's coming through Florida. Everybody's losing their pants about it.
I just heard about it today. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know. It won't make it to me. It doesn't matter.
It might be coming up a little bit that way.
Said the guys that went through Sandy in 2013.
Exactly.
Reports are that chat may still be disabled. That just came in.
Oh, lordy lord.
That's lousy.
I still see chat here.
Well, as long as you can see them, I can't. I got the other YouTube screen going, and they're not popping up like last time. There's one.
I can't see them either.
All right. I see one. Oh, there they are. Todd Burton just popped up. I can see them.
Yeah, see, everybody's on it. I don't know what everybody's talking about.
Okay. They were just being slow. They weren't popping up fast enough.
What's the big news? I heard there's a little hubbub going on.
Now there's a
Down
couple
here?
actually. Yeah, well, really in your neck of the woods. On Hazmat Nation, the Osceola County, Florida Coroner's Office released the report on the 2006 Porsche that 4 months ago crashed and was reported as a hazardous materials response. We all saw that from the helicopters across the nation. And have you, other than what's on Hazmat Nation, Kosh, have you heard anything? So we're saying, or they're definitely saying it's an H2S overdose.
Yeah, they were saying, and on the local news here tonight, they said that they finally had urine samples from both the victims, and that they had H2S in their urine. So that, we all talked about this for a while. Was it carbon monoxide from her having the car worked on the day before, or was it the battery rupture under the seat that we all had information on, and that had been mentioned in the news? So I think now we've pretty much come to a conclusion that it definitely had something to do with the battery. There were some questions. Bob Lundgren, who may or may not be listening, but he sent me a voicemail this morning, was asking some questions about, how the H2S could have presented itself. What would have caused the H2S? With the batteries that they have, or from the reports, are there, I think at NTSB or some government entity has the batteries and are actually testing them further. So maybe we might get a more definitive answer as to why and how that possibly could have happened.
I found that very interesting. H2S is not. If you were to tell me that it was H2S from an overcharging battery, I'd be kind of surprised. Usually, you hear like a hydrogen,
right?
A response and everything. And I actually tried to get one of our very good friends, and he's been on the show a couple times, Paul Rogers, who is, is a lieutenant in New York City Fire Department, and he's in hazmat. And this guy he's like the book of batteries. The guy is, and he's funny as hell. So I tried to get him on the phone, but he unfortunately was not available. But I am going to see if I can pin him down, and maybe we can chat about this again next week, and just pick his brain. Sure. Because
he just sent me a text, and it's interesting because I don't know that we ever jumped to conclusions on this thing. I think we all were in agreement. It all came down to the response, so we could pick. Paul just sent me a text that he read something today that it was SO2, sulfur dioxide, which, as you know, they were originally also saying it could have been CO, so now it's H2S. But the coroner's saying evidence in the blood as well as on the change, the coins inside the car, which is interesting to me. That's something I'd love to hear from Todd Burton, or something I'd love to actually see. How long does it take the coins to etch and come and have H2S? And
and that's one of the stories we talk about in chemical suicides is H2S, the coins changing colors.
That's something Todd's brought up before, either through the show, and maybe he can opine too. But
it doesn't do that a little bit. Talk to me about the coins changing colors. What are you talking about? Like the Italian good luck thing that they throw in the back seat, for a new car? I'm joking about that, but seriously, what about the coins? I mean, what are you saying? That they oxidize and change color?
Depending on the coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. The zinc will react, and it will change. And maybe Todd's going to shoot me a text with exactly, because he's the brains behind the operation. I know the Google Hazmat, but I know that's what was mentioned in the article. But then, of course, it's a big head scratcher because you get a crime scene. I was out here for the OJ Bronco. I mean, they take that thing on a flatbed and they take it to a crime lab and all that stuff. And I'm sure they did. I guess they did all that stuff with here, but I could not find anything where Porsche was involved too, because you'd think that, I don't care who the manufacturer was, you'd think the manufacturer would be all over it. Maybe they are. And the one video we put up on Hazmat Nation, the NTSB seems to be involved, although their PIO didn't seem to know the specifics. So it's still a big head scratcher. And I gotta say, I'm still not totally convinced. The evidence to me is still a little funky, but I list out all the chemicals that they said it could be, and now the new one of maybe SO2. And I still say none of those, all of those are going to be good with bunker gear for a rescue.
Right. Like Todd mentioned in here that SO2 doesn't have a smell to it, and these cops were smelling some kind of chemical odor coming from it, which is how everything kind of got slowed down.
Yeah, but that could have been the plastic burning or melting.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out.
Remember, the on scene was a formaldehyde smell, but honestly, I have a tough time believing anything, and maybe I'm just jaded, but how many times have you been told in the front?
Need me to believe.
How many times have we been told, there's Jason, hey, there's nobody in there, or no, I don't have any medical problems, or no, I didn't start that fire. I mean, in our job, there's so many things, and when it comes to smells, everybody, it might smell like formaldehyde to that individual, but doesn't mean it's formaldehyde. It just doesn't.
Right. Mike Blosky said that hydrogen sulfide binds with copper to make cupric sulfide and water, which is interesting. Did you just do a dance? Is that a dance you just did? Interesting.
It's the light on my neck.
Interpretation of formaldehyde. I'll be honest with you. I mean, formaldehyde. I always wonder about this, like this interpretation of smells. Who was the first guy that says, "Boy, that smells like germaniums," and then drops over dead? How many guys
on the quiz? On the quiz we did on Hazmat Nation, and I'll have to post the video. We had guys coming out. They did an evolution in a level A suit, so they had some disorientation, and they were working hard. As soon as we let them out, we had them smell those scent cards, and for the one that was supposed to smell like, I don't know, almonds, what's that, cyanide?
Yeah.
I mean, it smells like grandma's house. It smells like old boot. It smells like ass. I mean, there was all these different, and to me, it's kind of like a witness lineup. Hey, what they look like? What kind of car was it? So even when I heard initially it smelled like formaldehyde, it's like, well, was this somebody that worked in a pathology lab and worked with formaldehyde every day and knew? Or like you said, Bobby, it could have been off gassing from even something else, but it's still a head scratcher to me.
Well, I think this is, this literally broke this morning. I mean, 12 hours ago, this thing came out, and I kind of want to say to us, like, maybe we should just kind of wait, and maybe next week we pick this thing up again, because I have a feeling that there's an awful lot of stuff that's going to pop out about this in the next 4 or 5 days. Do you agree? Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I don't think we have the whole story yet.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely don't think we have the whole story, but I bet it's not that fast. I mean, you're talking Porsche, you're talking the battery companies, litigation. I think there's a lot going on here. I mean, so just okay. So let's say, what's the IDLH of sulfur dioxide versus the IDLH of H2S? Right, 100 parts per million for H2S. Right. Who's got their book?
I don't have it.
Right.
I just know.
I think it's close.
Sounds right.
Sulfur dioxide's close, right? 100. Somebody will shoot us the answer, right? Because I don't know off the top of my head. But ask a colorblind person what orange looks like. We're all going to have different descriptions. So how long did it take them to reach the IDLH? And what should we do? I think it goes back to, we and maybe we have beat this dead horse, but, go up, do your assessment, and rescue who you can rescue. We've kind of had that, the gray area, the whole conversation. We've had this going on since this thing started 4 months ago. Right?
Which, if anything, it's a tragic accident, and I wasn't there, and I think that whoever was there, they've relived it in their minds too, but I mean, we all can learn from it. And Paul did say, I think he could be on the show next week, and it'd be nice to have somebody expert in batteries, like Bobby said, and he did a great show with us several months ago on the lithium-ion batteries. So table it and come on back to it.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you there's a lot more information, and anything that we get, we'll put up on Hazmat Nation and try to tag it to the story so it's in one place. And if somebody gets something else, send it to us if you want to share with everybody. We'd love to put it up.
Yeah, if anybody has any information or anything, we can just share it on either the Facebook thread, and let's just get a thread going of any. Listen, I'm not saying we start a conspiracy theory, going around, but maybe we can crack something. Maybe we just come up with a crazy theory and we just investigate it, because it's all about just, sharing the ideas. So,
and Todd Burton, the Wikipedia of Hazmat, says it's 100 on the IDLH for sulfur dioxide.
Still,
I thought they were close. Yeah,
and Mike Kimura also said the same thing. So
those guys
they're on it. They're on it.
You can't stump them. I mean, I knew all those answers, but I wanted to see.
We were just testing you guys. We knew you knew the answers.
You got to test them.
We can't give you everything.
What you know what I really wanted to throw on the table tonight, the topic of chemical suicide. However, because we have a very and I don't want to take Mike's thunder, but we went to the Massachusetts State Convention and we were presenting there, and Mike went and sat in on a gentleman's class that was dealing with chemical suicide. And Mike got into, we'll say, a bit of a confrontation, not with just the instructor, not with just one or two people in the crowd, but the entire class was up in arms with pitchforks and torches at Mike. Because of
no way. I cannot believe that for a second.
Some what they interpreted as inflammatory remarks, but I don't understand. Like,
that's not possible.
And you know what? When Mike explained it to me, I want him to, I don't want to put any words into his mouth, but the thought process is that, you leave the people in the car until it's deemed safe, and you don't go in there to do basically a job. And I really wanted to go into this. I really wanted Mike to be here, but I think we have to table this until next week, because I gotta hear it. You gotta hear it from his mouth, because it was entertaining the scenario, but it's a very good conversation.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know you want to table it, but I got to ask, why would you do this?
What, table it?
No, why would you leave them in the car?
Because they say it's dangerous, and they said, well, how do we know it's not dangerous and everything like that? And though they have the proper, bunker gear, SCBA and stuff like that, they take the glass, they open the car and pull them out. Their replies were, well, he's still off gassing. To which Mike said, yeah, I still have my SCBA and I have gloves on. And so he said, again, you're leading me down this road, but he said,
sorry.
No, he said, he said, what's the liability if you were to use your 20 feet away vital vision, leave somebody in there, and now an awful lot of people are being revived. So now let's say this guy is being revived. The fire department takes up. The cops come in there and pull this guy out, and they work him up and they get him back. He's going to own the fire department.
Well, let me throw this curveball at you. And same kind of scenario, but it's a heroin overdose. You don't know that it's a chemical. You see the trash in the car. Somebody gets. I mean, we had a chemical suicide dispatch the other day, and it wasn't. So what happens when you don't react? And it's a heroin overdose. The cops in Ohio just had the picture go viral of the two people and the little kid in the back seat. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
So I mean, they look dead. Why would it be any different?
What if the car was on fire? And then is that bad? Do you not go? Do you not? Yeah. Not reach in, then get them.
The argument, and I'm way before that.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't.
You're supposed to disagree. You argue about this.
I am. I know. It's
okay.
The disagreement.
Then forget it. I disagree. You stand there, and I mean, I don't know the story. Was it somebody's mother-in-law that was in the car?
It wasn't anybody. It isn't just a class on doing this, and Mike disagreed with the instructor, and he started calling out some thoughts.
Here's something I would say. Did he have a gun in his hand? Was there a suspected bomb? Like, those are things I would clear out several hundred feet. That'd be a no-brainer. Give me another scenario. I'm really.
No, I don't know. I mean, like, the ones I've seen are pretty simplistic. A cylinder on a thing with the exit bag over the face. Todd Burton's saying that there's telltale sign of chemical suicide with buckets and liquids and yellow from surfwood and everything. Yeah, those are the elaborate ones, but in my personal opinion, is that people go uber simplistic. They go with propane. They go with helium that you buy for filling up the balloons. They go with carbon dioxide, stuff you get from bartending, nitrogen, stuff that's a simple chemical asphyxiant. I don't see a lot of people becoming chemists in the car and pumping it into their faces. I see guys that are doing uber simplistic things and just basically offing themselves. And sometimes they suck. And you know what? If there's a possibility of a flammable or a toxic, we're outside. I take all four windows of the car with my Halligan or whatever it is, let the thing blow for a second, open the door, and pull the guy out and work on him. That's it. And if he's dead, he's dead. But you can't. How are you going to declare a guy dead without those, the 5 signs of death, the decapitation, rigor mortis, dependent avidity, what's the other ones?
Podcast guy.
Yeah, he's watching the Hazmat Guys Nation. He's like, okay.
And even let's take another form of suicide. Popped up through the rafters and tied a rope around their neck. Out here typically you'll get an engine, an RA, a truck company, and even a chief. And unless, like you mentioned, Bobby, it's got the obvious signs, because it's true. It's a crime scene also, because they got to make sure this guy wasn't left-handed. It was a right-handed knot, and somebody, it was like straight out of a movie. But if there's not those signs of death, it doesn't matter. You cut them down and you work them up. And I don't know, what if somebody did that? What if somebody hung themselves over a vat of acid? I don't know, or something like that. What are you supposed to? And usually the chances when you bring them down are slim, but every now and then somebody had a change of heart, but you still can't but interesting. I'd love to maybe teach a class across the hallway at the same time. Maybe next year we can do that for whoever that was, and see. I'm sure there's good reason, but I'm just saying I get paid to do a job right now where if something's on fire, we run in and we don't do it without some good training, but that's kind of part of the job, and that's why I put my BA on and wear my gear, and if they're covered in chemicals, I'll decon and deal with it.
Yeah, I think he was a little upset because we were taking the chairs from his classroom. That's why.
Oh, well, obviously your class was doing better. So
I don't know. I wasn't really.
It goes like Phil was saying. We knew the job was dangerous when we took it. We're wearing PPE and SCBA. Like Mike just mentioned in the chat room there. What about PPV of the vehicle, breaching the door, venting the car? And, those things are good points that he just brought up, which is what they do on chemical suicides in vehicles before law enforcement goes up there and processes the scene.
Yeah.
The hazmat guys open the doors, open the windows, they ventilate it, and they do it for a good long time before the CSI people show up. And they usually even go as far as wearing level C, in an APR or a PAPR while they're processing the scene. Now, I have seen them take the car and put it on a flatbed tow truck and with the doors tied open and stuff like that to allow it to naturally vent as it's going down the road. But to not do anything, I don't know. To me, I think I'm going to go on a limb here and say that's a dereliction of duty.
I think so too. And I don't even have a problem with guys using APRs in an outside scenario. There's only 8 things that preclude you from using the APR. It's what? Ideal H, that there's an oxygen deficient or enriched. You have an unknown product, an unknown concentration, a cartridge, a concentration of a known that exceeds the APR, possibly a high moisture, or you don't have the right cartridge. You can't do it then. But other than that, you're basically in the same parameters of being able to use it, because basically everybody uses those, all hazard, cylinder things, right? The orange stripe.
The combination ones, yeah.
Yeah, the combo, the ones that do mist and vapor.
Well, I guess, and what other subject do we have that we're not going to talk about? But the other would be, okay, a firefighter, a firefighter goes in for this and dies, and maybe Todd Burton can help me remember. There was something in California out in the desert years ago. I want to say it was a San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy. An aircraft, a fighter jet went down in training, and he was first on scene and went up and was going to try to help. And of course, I think the guy even ejected, but of course he took in smoke that was from a burning whatever it was, 16. That's bad crap. And I remember hearing that, lung damage, all this crazy, just gnarly. That was a bad deal. But we're talking about a car we don't have some sort of hydrogen generator in there, something that's going to continue to create something. So it's, I guess you can't get me. And now if I was training, I guess if you said, now we're going to train postal workers on this. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. They should call the fire department, or they should call somebody else. But I'm having a tough time finding a reason why you wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to have to reinvestigate this. A couple of guys, there's one guy that's in my class that is from Baltimore, and I don't know if you guys saw it today, but that plastics fire in Baltimore.
Yeah, one of the guys that's on the show right now, Kevin Ryan, he's with Baltimore.
Yeah, so is Pernell Hammond. He's in my class. We were chatting about it today, having a good old conversation. But that looks like a good one too, because it looks like there's a lot of goodness being burned there. that was smoke so thick you could lean on it. That was
nice. Well, in that one, there's a risk versus gain. So you got that. You've got gnarly fire with all that, this and that, and nobody's in there, and maybe whoever's in charge decides to go defensive. Same thing, go back to the car. You got a single car with an occupant. And you don't know. Every single car fire and accident I go on, I check the trunk, I check underneath. They you don't want to be that crew that has an empty car seat and a missing kid that got ejected. Those kind of things to look for. So it would not be without reason. I don't know if it's documented that somebody that was sitting in the front seat with a cum suicide didn't have their kids somewhere in there too. People do weird things. So risk versus gain. Giant chemical plant fire versus single vehicle. Now, you could say, well, they were, it was a jumper, they jumped. Yeah, but you don't know. You don't know till you know.
Yep.
So,
what's the next subject we're not going to talk about?
I think that's about it. Time is up, baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quick. It goes quick when you're having fun.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Please be sure to go to our Facebook pages, Hazmat Nation and HazmatGuys.com. Let's go around the table. Bob, where can we find you? What do you do? What are you doing?
What am I doing? That's a $1 million question right there. Bob Kostrignano, you can get me at hcmtlt@gmail.com or at hazsim.com. Just doing some more hands-on hazsim training around the country here. Going to go out and see Phil in LA and stop in Phoenix on the way back for some training and, keeping it real.
Yeah, living the dream. Good for you. All right. Jason?
I'm Jason Rogers. You can get me at jason@hazmatnation.com. And we're still trying to profile teams and shoot me your email, your pictures, and all that sort of stuff, and we'll throw you some props on Hazmat Nation. So we've got a couple of good stories in the queue that are going to be coming. Just good stuff. I'll just keep watching Hazmat Nation.
And the ever illustrious Phil Ambrose. Go.
Yeah. Bob's going to Phoenix for an IFF instructors thing. We love the IFF is using our system, and I spent the afternoon doing the IFF survival part of their survival stuff. A few of the props we went through. So much of that. It's just really good stuff. You can find me through Hazmat Nation. Hate mail appreciated. I don't really get any mail, so send me something you're pissed off about that you think you should let somebody sit in a car and suffer while you stand there with your turnouts on. I'd love to talk about it.
And I am Bobby Solison from the Hazmat Guys podcast. You can find a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and basically everywhere you can find iTunes. We break down those tough and difficult topics from hazardous materials and make them a little bit funny and really kind of make them a little easier to understand. You can catch next week's show live every Tuesday at 21:15 hours Eastern Standard Time on Google Hangouts. Actually, it's just moved over to Google YouTube Live, is it called now? I think it's YouTube Live. And we also produce this episode in a podcast version that's also on iTunes under the Hazmat Guys Nation. And you can see this video as soon as we stop on our YouTube channel, which is THMGnation@gmail.com. That is it. Good night.
Be safe.